Noob Estudio.
¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos a otra edición de Skativismo, el podcast favorito de sus riders favoritos. Y el día de hoy tenemos preparado un gran episodio con un gran rider, uno de mis riders favoritos definitivamente en todo este mundo del longboard y alguien al que me jacto de llamar amigo.
Even before I was traveling out of a van, I always really liked just having one board.
And also you have like your new board. Can you show us, run us through
Yeah,
it?
it's like a giant skateboard basically, designed for like all types of skating. It's like really easy to overthink things, like overcomplicate stuff, even like skate tricks. Trying to remind myself to keep it simple when it comes to like trick selection or shooting stuff for videos or whatever. Like don't overthink it, you know, you can take the simplest thing and make it beautiful.
Vamos a hacer también un intro en inglés para toda la gente que nos está escuchando o que nos va a escuchar en inglés. Como quiera les voy a poner subtítulos para todo. We have a very good show ahead with a very interesting character and one of my favorite riders in the longboard scene, Mr. Clark Patrick. Welcome to Skativismo.
Dude, thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words.
How's it been? It's been a minute. I remember I left you at the airport in Vancouver.
Yeah, you dropped me off at the airport and then like 5 minutes later I realized that my flight was like completely canceled. So then I just like got on the train. Yeah, I just got on the train and went right back to the city and then left the next day. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about that.
And I remember that day that we drove into the airport, like in one of those areas that we're not supposed to drive. Like we were driving the van.
Dude, I thought we were both going to get in so much trouble and you're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, how have you been after that? Like, where are you right now? You said a town next to Asheville?
Yeah, I live in Candler, North Carolina, which is just the neighboring town, just like 10 minutes east of Asheville. There's like a bunch of skaters that live in Candler and that also live in Asheville. We're kind of all over this area. And I just recently moved into my friend's place at the bottom of a skate run called 151.
Nice.
So all the Asheville listeners will know where I live now.
Hell yeah.
Come hang out with me.
Yeah, I've heard that there's like quite a good scene over there. Like, there's a lot of people skating there. Like pretty much like the whole LA scene back in the day. It's now in Nashville. That's what I've heard. I never been there yet.
It's actually nuts. There's like so many people here that like you can't even get together every day and skate with everyone. Like you're never going to see everyone all at one session. There's like different little groups that like to skate different kind of things and like just have different vibes. And it's like, it's pretty ridiculous actually. It's like everyone lives here that wants to do downhill skating. It's crazy. You can like pull up to a session like you just planned with one car full of people to go skate something. You pull up and there's like 3 or 4 other cars of people you didn't even know were going to be there.
It's amazing.
It's pretty awesome.
Especially because like there's like nothing like that anymore. Like I know we used to have that back in the day, but like right now like this scene is pretty much like I don't know, like 2-3 people in each city and that's it. Like but right now like I guess like everyone is gathering over there.
Yeah, it's just such a good place. There's endless runs. You could skate just like a handful of things for the rest of your life, but there's still like countless runs. There's still so many skate runs I haven't even seen.
That's crazy. And how did you end up there? Like, how did everyone like end up there?
There was a smaller group that have been here for like the last decade. I know there's a guy named Matthew Deitch who was pretty famous, like downhill dude. He's lived here for like the last 15 years and he really established like a lot of the runs. And then a couple of people moved up from Atlanta, Georgia. And like a lot of them still live here, like Connor, Tyler Hunt, and David Boubier. They've been living here for 10 years and they kind of had it to themselves for a while. And then people just kept visiting over time. And then I think COVID is like really kind of what did it. Like tons of people moved here. When I was staying here during COVID, it felt like 2 people a month were moving here from like across the country or from some other place.
Wow.
Now there's like something like 40 of us, something like that.
That's crazy. And you were living in your van too. That's actually like something like I guess like in our generation, everyone wants to do it.
Yeah, I actually just moved out of the van for the first time in 4 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So most of the time that I've spent here has been out of the van, hanging out at friends' houses and stuff. And just recently, I don't know, the van's just taken a toll. It's getting like beat up, and I wanted to have like a more like an established spot. Just feels better. I
Yeah,
know that I want to be here. So
I bet. And what like encouraged you like to move in a van and just like traveling and like I don't know. I guess like the freedom of just like changing places like
yeah,
as easy as possible.
when I was like 16 and I got my license and I got my car, it was like the first weekend I had my car.
Hmm.
I had two older friends that were like, "Oh, let's go snowboarding in Pennsylvania." I grew up in Ohio, so
Hmm.
Pennsylvania's right next to it. And I was like, "Oh, where are we gonna stay?" And they're like, "Oh, dude, we can just sleep in your car." And I was like, "What? Like you can do that?"
Yeah.
And we just went there, like slept in a hotel parking lot and snowboarded for 2 days. And it just like clicked in my brain. I was like, wow, you don't really need much. Like you can kind of go wherever you want and sleep wherever you want.
Yeah.
And that just carried on for like a long time. Like I never really intentionally was trying to live out of my van,
Hmm.
but I just wanted to move around so much that it just happened. Just
Wow.
started
And did
just
you?
started going wherever I
Uh,
wanted to, just sleeping in the back of my car and making it work, and just ended up kind of like being a full-time thing for a while.
that's amazing. And did you like upgrade it from just a normal car to a van or what was that process like?
I used to have a Honda Element, like the
Uh-huh.
boxy car that's like super awesome, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like slightly too tall to fit in it very well, and it broke down. So after that, I bought a longer van that's like kind of similar. It's a Ford Transit Connect, but the smallest one. And
Yeah.
no, I never built it out. I just had like a sleeping pad in the back and tried to keep my possessions like super minimal so it didn't crowd up the van. And everyone was always egging me to build it out and like make a really nice setup, but I just like never like saw the point. I was like, I just like
Yeah.
it simple. Like I can just travel, or I can just take everything out and then it's a normal car. So I just kept it that way. I'm kind of thankful actually, because now my van is just a normal van now that I'm not living out of it. It's not like I have to like rip out a kitchen
Yeah,
or like
exactly.
rip out a bed, like it's just a normal car now.
That's
It's pretty
crazy.
nice.
And what do you think like you learn from that? Like I guess like that kind of simple life or like minimalistic life should be like your motto at that time. Or what do you think like you learn from that?
Definitely learn that like no matter how much stuff you have, even if you barely have anything, you like don't even really use it.
Mhm.
It's just stuff. And it taught me how to like let go of a lot of stuff,
Right.
how to like like really assess each item in your life
Yeah.
and look at it and be like, is this like really useful? Do I really need this? And I went through many processes of like getting rid of stuff
Hmm.
and then realizing like, damn, I can get rid of more stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get rid of more stuff. And then you get down to like not very much stuff at all, like just like a couple boards and stuff that'll fit in a box. And then you're like, I still don't use most of this
Hmm.
because like in this day and age, we pretty much just like use our phones for most things. We don't have like a ton of books or ton of items that we really need from day to day. We kind of just like socialize, work, skate on the boards we have. You don't really need much. So I don't know. Taught me a lot about minimalism, which has been nice because now when I moved into this place, it took me like 20 minutes to move into my room. I just
It's
like moved some
amazing.
stuff inside and I was like, oh, I'm done. It's like no
Yeah.
problem to move around.
And
Yeah, it feels good.
yeah, it's crazy. And do you think like that have like impact has like an impact in your skateboarding or the way you see maybe skateboarding?
Yeah, I think maybe in some ways. And
Mm-hmm.
even before I was traveling out of a van, I always really liked just having one board that could do
Hmm.
it all, you know?
Yeah.
And I still am that way. Like, I really don't like having to have a downhill board
Right.
and a skate park board, you know? Those things are great, but it's just really nice to be like dialed in on one setup and
Mm-hmm.
just like, that I can just take this wherever. I can just, it's always going to be good.
Absolutely. I want to
Mm.
take a few steps back and like ask you like how did you start into skateboarding? What was your first approach to skateboarding?
Oh, that's going pretty far back.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, when I was 6 years old, I had a neighbor that had like a little Walmart board, and I was hanging out with him, and we were just trying to ride it on his driveway. And then not long after that, I was at some sort of store, kind of like Toys R Us. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a local kind of toy store. And
Yeah.
they basically had the equivalent of like a Walmart board there, like a really cheap skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
Then my dad saw that I was interested in it, and it turns out he skated a little bit when he was a kid. So he was
Nice.
like, oh, maybe he wants to try this. And I just got one of those. And then pretty much since then, it's like all I want to do. And at
Who?
some point when I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I was around like 9 or 10, my dad also showed me longboards. Up until then, I was just riding street decks, and he was like, you got to check these things out. Like you can push on this, like one push and you'll just go like a mile because it's so smooth. And
Mm-hmm.
something in my little kid brain is like really attached to the longboards, even though I really liked skateboards before that. Just like as soon as I got on longboards, I was like, oh, I really like this.
What like hooked you into longboarding?
I definitely think it was like the smoothness of the softer wheels
Mm-hmm.
and like the longer wheelbase just being like more carby.
Yeah.
I think that was like really attractive. I grew up in a fairly flat place, and there were tons of like walking trails and sidewalks everywhere, and the roads weren't too busy. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really appealing to just have a board that you could push really far on, you know, and on a normal skateboard, it was pretty like rough. And once you ride something smoother, you're like, oh, I don't really want to go back to that. Like, I want to be able to like push to the store, like push to meet up with my friends, or push to school. Even I used to ride to school a lot. And I think that was just the most attractive part. And then around that same time, it was just like the stars kind of aligned. You know, like there was the boom in longboarding, and
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, I'm like 11 years old, seeing a bunch of these like kids riding original skateboards and
Mm-hmm.
like loaded boards and old Landyachtz videos. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, I saw that stuff, and I was like, oh, you can do tricks on these. And then I started learning tricks on longboards for some reason.
That's amazing. Because you also like came from like a street skateboarding, right? Like it was only natural just to like
Yeah,
try it and experiment with your board, right?
yeah. There was even one point where I would like take my normal skateboard to the skate parks,
Mm-hmm.
and then like at home I would ride my longboard.
Yeah.
And then at some point it just like faded into just one board, like just one longboard.
Yeah.
And I was like just interested in learning everything on the longboard instead of the street deck. And I
Yeah.
kind of just like left those behind.
That's crazy. And I remember you told me like you started writing for brands like very young, like a really young age. Like were you like 13 or something like that? You said?
Yeah, I think I was 11 going on 12. I may have just turned 12, and I made this video doing a bunch of tiger claws and like fakey big spins, and I sent it to Original Skateboards,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she was a team rider and also an employee at the time. Her name was Lindsay, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She replied, and she was like, "Yeah, we'd like to put you on the flow team." And I'm like just this 12-year-old like emailing them by myself,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then I'm like about to go to baseball practice, and I like tell my mom like, hey, I just got this email, and like this company wants to send me a board. She's
Mm-hmm.
just like, what are you talking about? She didn't believe it until I like, showed
Yeah.
it to her. She's like, you've been emailing these people by yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, but that was, that was during the time where longboarding was like exploding. Like if you had access to a camera and could do a handful of tricks, like these
Yeah.
companies were eating that up. So it's just like perfect timing.
That's amazing. And what encouraged you like to just send that email?
I can't remember exactly how I figured out to just like email them, but I think it was just watching the videos and realizing that they were posting videos. All these companies were posting videos of like kids that weren't that much older than me. Like maybe they were 14, 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this brand is from wherever, like New Jersey or California, but these kids are from like, Illinois or something. Like, how are they getting in contact with them? I think I just went on their website and just like looked up the like customer service email and was like, I guess I'll
Yeah.
just send them this video. Like it just like happened to work.
That's amazing. It's also crazy that I don't know, like just like your first email, you got a response, and out of a sudden you're like a flow team. That's amazing. I love the world
Yeah.
we're living right now where we can have those opportunities for sure.
Yeah.
And especially when you're
Yeah.
like a, I don't know, like a teenager, right? It's
Yeah.
just amazing. And
Yeah.
and in that sense, like, um, what has changed in your, I don't know, progression of skateboarding or maybe ambition in skateboarding? You've been like writing for brands for how long now? Like a long time.
Yeah. Like over 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think too much has changed. I mean, I guess I ride like different boards
Hmm.
nowadays, but like, I mean, thanks to Landyachtz, like now I'm like riding something that like really works for me, which
Yeah.
is maybe the first time, like all through all the other years in different companies, like I was always riding just, like whatever they needed to sell or whatever I thought was the best on their lineup. And they never really were like exactly what I wanted or that good for like the type of skating I like to do. But that was also fun though. Always like riding like different boards all the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays I'm riding something that like really suits me, which is cool. Just like a giant skateboard. It's my favorite
Yeah.
thing.
I'm Clark Patrick, and this is my new pro model board from Landyachtz. We designed this board to be good for all types of skating, from downhill to skate parks to just cruising the streets and popping ollies.
That's really cool. And also you have like your new board right behind you, right next to you.
Yeah.
Can you show us a little bit of your board? Maybe run us through
Yeah.
it. What are the
Yeah.
features?
See if I can get this. I'll scoot back a little bit. All right. Yeah, that fits in there pretty well.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, I mean, it's just like a giant skateboard basically. And Nick and I from Landyachtz, um, just worked together for, it took like over a year. I'd say we started in late 2022
Hmm.
and started prototyping them and worked up to this point. And yeah, it's just really simple, but really, really good. It's designed for like all types of skating.
What are
I do a lot of downhill nowadays, but I still like to go to like skate parks and everything. And so it's a 40-inch longboard. And it looks like a asymmetrical skateboard. This is the nose, and then the tail is kind of like square. You can
nice?
see. I ride RKPs. I always have ridden RKPs. I'm sure some people are going to set this up with street trucks, and it'll be awesome that way. But I just always like the surfiness of RKPs and for downhill and everything. And yeah, it's got wheel wells, so you can put giant wheels on it. That's always really important to me. I hate
Yeah.
wheel bite. So we carved those out so you can put some giant wheels on it. Has super simple concave, which I really like. A lot of longboards have like really aggressive concave.
Hmm.
You can like see like it's like almost non-existent. It's like super duper simple,
Yeah.
which I really like because when you're doing ollies or kick flips or tricks, like it's not you're not like mashing your foot into an aggressive concave that's gonna like hurt your foot or wear your foot out over time. But it's also still really good for downhill.
That's
It's
crazy.
9.5 inches wide.
Oh, nice. It's
What was
wide.
that?
Wide boy.
Yeah, it's 9.5 inches wide at the widest.
Hmm.
So it's very comfy. It's easy to land on, a lot of room, and you can still put bigger trucks on it. I know a lot of people are riding narrow trucks these days, but I don't know. There's something special about like the classic feel of just like 165 or 180 millimeter wheels or trucks.
Yep.
Yeah, we prototyped a way narrower version,
Hmm.
which you would have to put like 150 millimeter trucks or smaller, and it just felt too small. Like I know that's like the trend right now and everything for smaller trucks, but I don't think that many people have small trucks, and I know I don't. So I was like trying to keep it classic.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like if you wanna try to do like this hybrid kind of style, right? Like trying to
Hmm.
do like skate parks and ollies and like just like having fun on the street and also like throwing some
Hmm.
slides and shit. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely like an all-around board.
Yeah. And what about the
Which
graphic? Where
so the
that came?
graphic.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot about the graphic. The graphic is like a herring or a crane, kind of like a silhouette of a herring or a crane, seemingly like kind of attacking this snake.
Nice. That's amazing.
And yeah, with like the sun behind it.
Yeah. Do you know like
I
who
actually like
made that?
I didn't choose the graphic, and I don't know much about it. It was kind of one of
Uh-huh.
the last things I kind of personally slacked on like coming up with a graphic or something that was really challenging for me.
Uh-huh.
And Ryan from Landyachtz recommended this one, and I liked the simplicity of it, and
Yeah.
so we went with this one for now. I
That's
like it.
amazing.
I like the animals,
Yeah, it's
some sort of
crazy.
nature on there.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, looks
Like
cool.
the contrast and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. I think one of my favorite parts too is the like you can still see the wood through the graphic. You know, the graphic's not
Yeah,
covering up the wood. I like that.
that's really cool. Nice. What wheels are you riding? Are like 70 millimeters?
These are 69 millimeter Hal
69
Peralta
almost.
snakes.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And you like designed the board for that to work with exactly your setup?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what I always ride, so it was like
Hmm.
very much designed around this, but it will work with other stuff. Like I put some pair of street trucks on it. Feels really good. I've ridden like really small wheels. Like I was even riding these for a minute on it, which are like considerably smaller.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that. They're like way smaller.
Hmm.
Some G slides, but yeah, it is designed mostly around RKP trucks and bigger wheels.
Nice. And
Yeah.
what's it like? Like, are you skating these days too? Like on that board, or are you using like a downhill board too, or just that one?
Recently, for a while we've been prototyping this, I've just been riding this.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
remember in
Yeah.
Vancouver,
I used to,
you were riding that a lot in Vancouver.
yeah. From time to time, I will skate the Landyachtz free dive,
Oh,
which is like a
yeah,
free ride downhill board, just because I'm really used to it. But now this is all I skate.
yeah,
Just works for everything, which I'm really happy about. For a long time, I've been going in between different boards, and now I like just have one. You know.
yeah. It's amazing. The
Yeah, it's gonna be really
simplicity.
nice to travel with this thing.
Exactly. Talking about travels, like you've been traveling a bunch in the last few years.
Over the past few years, gotten to a couple of cool places. I definitely think the most memorable out of the last few years would be a trip to Maui with some of my
Hmm.
friends,
Yeah,
and just because it was very different than any other skate trip I've gone on. Like usually you gotta like rent cars and find an Airbnb or something, and on this trip we just camped in the woods and did that for 3 months
wow.
and just skated every day. Did a lot of hiking. We hiked the run Waipoli a lot. Got hitchhikes, you know, like flagged down cars and got rides up the hill. And there was just something like really special about that. You know, felt more, for lack of better terms, like down to earth. You know, it felt like
Yeah,
slower paced and you know really able to like hone in on what we do this for. You know,
yeah.
sometimes it can get so like fast paced and so much logistics and everything. But yeah, that was a really good time. Other than that, got to visit Medellin, Colombia.
Hmm.
That was super fun. I've always wanted to go there. Just seen so many different people skate it. The locals there skate like no other place I've ever been. They have like a crazy passion for skating, which is really cool to experience. I'd actually like to go back there. My trip felt really short, so that's that's something I'm trying to do again. That's another place I'm trying to go
Nice. How long did you
soon.
stay there in Medellin?
I was there for like just over 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, flew by. That was like in the midst of COVID too, so maybe it wasn't the best time to go down there, but everything was fine. But the country, or at least the city, was like kind of shut down a little bit. So I'd like to go back to like see it more
Yeah.
in its
They were also having like
natural way.
this like protest and like stuff like going on in the city, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, we didn't know. I didn't know going into it. I
Mhm.
learned a valuable lesson about needing to do research about the places you're going to. There, from what I understand, the government was trying to raise taxes and on like all sorts of things, you know, just like food and items, and they're trying to raise it to a rate that would just kind of like really screw everyone over and would oppress people even more. And, you know, the civilians were pretty much like rioting, protesting, but like it felt like I went to one of the protests and it felt like I was in like a war zone. Like they were like tearing down all the government buildings and burning stuff. And yeah, Juan Pablo and I were like in the streets. Like we had our boards with us and we were just kind of like observing, you know, there to like observe and see what was going on. And the cops were like driving around on their motos, like shooting tear gas everywhere. And at one point, like Juan Pablo like covered his face with his board like this. And I like watched the tear canister like hit his board and bounce off. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, after that, I was like, dude, let's get out of here.
And like, what was like the contrast, or like, what went through your head, like as you come from the States with, well,
Yeah,
you guys also have like crazy riots from time to time in different cities, but just like going on a vacation or like a skate trip and just like facing this reality of a different kind of world or different kind of people, different kind of issues. Like what do you think? Like how did that feel like?
it was really crazy. It was definitely a shock. Like the way that the protest began, you know, there was like so much organization among just like the civilians. Like they all were coming in on these like main streets, like walking like shoulder to shoulder, like so many people. And they were like in different groups. You had like soccer teams were together. You had like the skateboarders and the punk rock people were like together with this like truck with a band on the back of it. And they just like, you know, walked right past all like the people's homes. They weren't doing anything disrespectful. Like everyone was just singing and like chanting different things. And you could tell the mission was like to go directly to the government buildings and to downtown, you know, and that's where they were going to really show like how they felt about these taxes and where they were going to protest. And I feel like that differs a lot from the US, where people sometimes like take advantage of protests and riots or whatever, and they turn protests into riots, and they kind of attack like companies and like just like local stores, or they use it as an opportunity to like rob places and everything. In Colombia, it was not like that at all. It was like they had a very clear focus, you know. It was like, we're trying to show the government we're going to go like mess up some government buildings and the police stations, but we're not going to like destroy our city, you know, in the process, which I thought that was pretty cool. That was definitely very different. And there was so much involvement. It felt like people really were there to like change the problem. Like it didn't seem like they were just trying to like party or go crazy. Sometimes in the US you see like evidence of protests just turning into like releases of energy, you know, like people just trying to like blow off steam and like they don't even know why they're really there. And yeah, it definitely was really interesting.
Yeah, and especially seeing the contrast. Just yesterday I interviewed this artist from Paris, from France, and he was telling me that in France there's a lot of riots, and he was kind of, he didn't like it as much because like he thought that the one of the ways that we can maybe revolutionize things or like change things, it might be through love, you know, like through empathizing and through getting all together. And in that sense, just that contrast that just pointed out, like people just using the protest to rob instead of using the protest to actually change things. Where you stand in this the spectrum of, you know, like changing the things by, you know, like force, in that sense, like just like being there as a protest.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, it felt very different there than what I see happening here.
do you see skateboarding different because of that? Like since you saw like how community like can I don't know, like just gather, and like all the skaters were like just gathering in their own front or something like that, or what were your like reflections out of that, if that happened, or were you just like, oh, that's fucked up?
Even before the protests that I went to, I noticed that the skate community there is like very accepting. You know,
Mhm.
you would go to these sessions, like downhill sessions at like a hike hill where people can just like walk up and down the hill, and there would just be like all sorts of levels of skills. And then
Yeah.
you would see people like a Snyder who is super good at downhill skating, like
Mhm.
really putting a lot of time and attention into people to like help them, to
Yeah.
like help new people like learn how to skate, like showing them tips and like showing them how to like learn how to slide. And there's a lot of roller skaters there too that hang out
Mhm.
with the skaters.
Yeah.
And that was cool to see because here in the States, like you don't see much of like a integration of like different downhill sports coming together. Like maybe you'll see like luge or
Mhm.
like, yeah, you'll see like luge and downhill skating at the same session. But there it was like roller skaters and downhill skaters just like all coming together to like just do downhill. And I even watched the roller skaters like teaching each other how to slide by like holding each other's hands.
Wow.
And you know, I think that in the States and in a lot of other places, there people are like willing to help, but you do get a lot more of this like kind of gatekeepy
Mm.
mentality where, you know, people only want to hang out with people that skate at their level, you know, or can skate what they want to skate, and so they only go out and ride with those people. But yeah, similarly to how the protests were going down, you know, you had opposing soccer teams that were marching together. I remember Juan Pablo pointing that out. He was like, normally those soccer teams and all those guys like hate each other,
Mhm.
but right now they're coming together and purposely like walking together, you know. And I saw that definitely in the skate scene. It was just normal for them to like include everyone and uh, try to help people get into it and share gear and, you know, give each other rides to different places. So, yeah.
What do you think about, like, like the importance of traveling and like seeing different realities and, and seeing different scenes and how they, I don't know, like relate to each other?
It's definitely really refreshing. I feel like on the individual level, it helps you like break out of your normal day-to-day habits. It helps you like see how other people are living their lives, you know, like
Mhm.
what other things they do. And I don't know, when you're always in one place, you kind of, you know, that becomes your world, obviously, because that's
Yeah.
like where you live. But when you go to other places, you see there's other kinds of foods or there's other kinds of skating, you know, because you'll get to see different sorts of infrastructure, you know, different kind of spots. And um, traveling's definitely like really opened my mind to, you know, in one place, some people might ride the best roads ever with the best pavement and be happy. And then you go somewhere else and they have like some horrible pavement and not that good of a hill, and they're still doing it, you know, they're still like skating and it's not holding them back. So can kind of help you be creative, you know, can help you
Mhm.
look at when you go back to your hometown or whatever, you start to look at it differently. You're like, oh, maybe I should actually skate that spot too, you know, like if I was in Colombia, they would skate this like really well or whatever, or if they came here, they'd probably want to skate my spots, you know. So definitely, yeah, just like also meeting different types of people. Like everywhere I go, the things you learn about people outside of skating are probably like the coolest things. You know, you learn about people's jobs.
Mhm.
Like I learned that Granada from Colombia like drives like huge semi trucks. And you're just like, this guy drives semi trucks around Colombia,
Yeah.
but also is just out here showing me skate spots. You know, it opens your brain to like, you know, how unique everyone's lives are and, you know, what you can do with your own life, and just gives you perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
I I was thinking this experience you have in Maui, that you were like camping for 3 months, you said, and
Mm.
like all this hiking and stuff, and it sounds like a really kind of reflective or context, like for an individual. What was that experience like for you? Was it like that, or
Yeah,
was it just like outdoors and
no,
woo?
no, it definitely was like that. There
uh,
was, yeah, there's a lot of time to be like introspective. I think
uh,
it, it was a great time to search myself and kind of like reestablish like what's important to me,
Yep.
you know? So I was like far away from a lot of my close friends. I was there with close friends, but you know, I was far away from family, close friends. Also just like very far away from the mainland,
Yeah.
which is just a whole other feeling in itself. You know, you can feel that you're on this tiny island and that you're really far away from everything else. So it was a very introspective experience. Yeah, makes you think about what do you want to do with your life? What do you like every day? What are you trying to do? What kind of new things are you trying to do? Where do you want to be? You know, what kind of city do you want to live in? Do you want to live in the countryside? Those are the things I was thinking about. It made me really evaluate just like where I want to be in life and who I want to be surrounded by and what do I want to do. And yeah, it was a good time for that. I journaled a lot, and I was actually reading the Tao Te Ching. My friend Boone showed up to camp with us, and he brought this book, the Tao Te Ching, which is just, I don't know if have you ever heard of that?
No, no, no.
Okay, it's like a, I'm gonna like botch this because I don't know too much about it, but it's by a guy named Lao Tzu, and it's supposed to
Okay.
be like I think 2,000 years old. It's a
Okay.
really old text, and a lot of it is about like minimalism and taking the path of least resistance.
Hmm.
And I was reading that and reflecting on my own life and my own decisions, and you know, all sorts of, you know, things that I'm like struggling with. And it was an interesting time to just like lay it all out. I had like the time to do it, you know, even though it was a skate trip, there was
Yeah.
like so much downtime,
Yeah.
even just like walking up the hill, you know, or,
Hmm.
you know, sitting at the bottom of the run waiting to get a ride up the hill. There's so much time to just like think about what was important and like what I really wanted in my life, and could feel myself also, you know, the things that I was battling with and things I was struggling against, and how much I was clinging on to certain things in my life, or um, holding on to and fighting against life. I felt that a lot. I was like, there's so many things that I'm fighting against in my life. So it's
Yeah.
a good time to like
And
just think about
especially
that stuff.
living outdoors, right? Because you are kind of fighting the nature so you can live there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like trying to,
Yeah.
I don't know, like find a good spot to put your tent and like,
Yeah.
all that stuff that
Yeah.
carries just like being outside. Definitely,
Mhm.
it feels like, it sounds like a really introspective kind of travel. And what have you learned from that process? Like, have you, when you went back to the street, what, to the city, was like
Mm.
you saw the city differently, or?
I think, yeah, there was a sort of like change when I went back to the mainland, and there was all these highways, and you know, like the land's so much bigger, and it reaffirmed that feeling of that like most of the things we run across in society are just like places to seek entertainment or places to spend your money, which
Mhm.
is like most of us like already feel that. But after spending a good amount of time kind of away from that, going back to it was again like introspective. It's like, what is all this stuff, you know, like all these stores and all these just things to do, you know. You're like, man, like life is more simple when you just have like one thing to like focus on, or like you have one thing you're just doing instead of just like constantly running around like, where are we going to eat, or where are we going to go to like go do something for fun, and you know, we got to get gas to go there, we got to have a car, you know. It was
Mhm.
kind of overwhelming at first. I was like, man, there's just so many intricate pieces of life, you know, like just like modern society, there's so many little things that we take for granted, and they're kind of incredible. And there's like endless food options and entertainment. And back to like the whole fighting life thing, is it was overwhelming, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. I had that feeling too. I was like, you know, this stuff is also good, and it's like beautiful. You know, there's people are working, making their livelihoods, supporting themselves, and through these jobs and entertainment businesses and everything. And it's like a good and a bad thing. I feel like that's the perspective I gained, was like, you know, can be too much, but it can also be good to like retreat away from that. You know, it's good once in a while to remove yourself from the rat race and just look at yourself, you know, get rid of all of it, and you definitely have more time to work on yourself.
Absolutely. And I think like that kind of experiences like allow us to see the duality in life, right? Like as there are good things, are bad things, and like there's learns and mistakes and all this and all that stuff, and it's all part of this big spectrum that we call life and the time that we are here in that sense.
Yeah.
And going back to skateboarding, like what are you stoked on this year? Events?
I'm really stoked actually to be around Asheville for the good weather. Over the past 2 years that I've been spending here, I go in and out a lot, and I'm actually kind of hoping to maybe like not leave as much this year, or just spend more time here this year. The roads and the town and the people like are just so good. It's so fun. Like you can skate here whenever you want to skate, and then there's also a big community to hang out with and, you know, make food with, and, you know, just enjoy life. So I'm really stoked on that. I'm about to go to Puerto Rico though.
Nice.
And I've never been there. I'm really excited for that. I've always wanted to go there. I've heard it's really fun. I'm excited to skate the roads there, and also just like surf, hang out,
nice,
eat food.
Are you going for the race in Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Sick.
I'm gonna go 2 weeks in advance. I actually leave on Sunday, the 11th, and sorry, the dog's barking.
No worries, we can barely hear it.
Okay. But
we heard that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit.
Is that a beer?
No.
Are you still not drinking?
Yeah, I don't drink.
Hell yeah.
I just skate. That's it. Now this is like a local drink. It's called a Waterloo. It's just like a seltzer. They make this here in Asheville.
Yummy. Yeah, it looks very tasty. Waterloo, please sponsor us.
Yeah, please.
So, are you going for the race? I never seen you as the type of like competitive kind of rider. Were you ever?
No.
No.
No, I've done like a handful of like little tiny races.
Yeah.
I definitely don't really have like the drive. Like I don't really have that feeling of like, oh, I want to like beat someone down the hill. I think it's like really cool to watch and do from time to time.
Yeah.
I plan on racing in Puerto Rico because I think it's going to be fun. A lot of my friends will be there, and it'll be fun just to like, you know, even sit in the back of a pack and just watch my friends take off in front of me. Like it's just going to be a good time. So I'll definitely do it there. But no, I've never really had like the passion for downhill racing. Just not really my thing. I think I didn't really grow up like skating around too many people, and like in packs and downhill, and that's still something that like makes me kind of nervous. You know, I don't really have that drive that I'm very aware of like, oh, there's people around me, and if I mess up, then I could hurt them, and that responsibility is enough for me to be like, yeah, I'd rather just not.
Yeah, I feel you totally. Damn, that's crazy. So you're gonna stay 2 weeks in Puerto Rico, or are you gonna stay longer than that?
It's like a little over 2 weeks that I'll be there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's amazing. What's the name of the race? You know?
The Oaxaca. I think that's how you say it, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the epic and mythical Oaxaca.
Yeah, right? I mean, like all of us have been seeing it for years, for a long time.
Many years.
Yeah, and it's starting up again, and I've never been, so I'm super excited to go.
Nice. Who else is coming with you?
There's a lot of people from Asheville going. I can name them: Lucas Schultz, Skylar True, Pat Doherty, Thomas Richmond, Connor O'Brien, David Boubier, Marcella, Chase Hiller, Will Royce, Juan Pablo. I know Pero Pro will be there. He's supposed to be in my car. We're going to be driving around together with Juan Pablo and Casey Morrow. don't know if you guys remember him. Meth Legs was his Instagram.
Yeah,
He
I
made like
remember
VX,
Casey. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
yeah, like VX Pod with Will Royce.
sick.
Yeah, and that's just the people. That's like pretty much people from Asheville and a
That's
few
crazy.
others.
That's a big crew.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure there'll be people there from like all over the states. Like probably some people from Mexico.
Hmm.
Sure, there'll be a handful of people from like Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
I wanted to go there, but I have my visa like
Oh
expire,
man.
and I haven't like really taken the time to actually like go through the papers and all this stuff. It's
Mhm.
just a pain in the ass, bureaucracy.
Have you been there before?
No, no in Puerto Rico, no. I have a bunch of
Yeah.
friends in Puerto Rico, but I've never been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully one day.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Nano and Walter.
Yeah.
Those are like the only two people I really know there.
Oh
But
yeah.
they came and skated GRC, the event here in Asheville. So
What would be your advice to someone that wants to maybe write for brands or maybe taking skateboarding a little bit more seriously in that sense of making a career out of it?
say my biggest advice that I've actually told like a lot of people this. I meet a lot of people that are like really, really good skaters that just like have never even tried to get sponsored, you know, and they're a little nervous to do it. My biggest advice to them has always been that the people at these skate brands are just like you and me. Like they're just normal people, and you know, they're most likely a skater that used to be like your age or used to be just like you. So when you reach out to them, you're not talking to some like scary corporate person, you know. We are lucky you're like talking to just like some skater. So just like treat them like that. Like treat it like it'd be someone you're meeting at a slide jam or like at an event or something, and take the pressure off yourself that it's not as scary as you think it is. And you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to use all these big words and like, you know, you just have to be kind of normal. Like just go into it normally how you would talk to anyone. And send that email, you know. People are nervous. They're like, oh, I'm not going to get sponsored, or, you know, I'm not good enough. It's like, well, why not just try, you know? Like, it's not that big of a deal to send them an email or try to message them on Instagram and, yeah, and make them content. You know, that's one of the things that's just like going to help, you know. These companies like are looking for riders to represent them. And the best way to do that is to like show that you like their products. So even if you're not on their team, maybe you don't have any contact with them, like tag them. You know, if you ride Landyachtz boards, like just tag them in everything you do. You know, you're showing your viewers like this is the company that I like, you know. I like, even though I don't know these people, like I really like their products and everything. I think that can go a long way. You know, a lot of people try to get sponsored by companies sometimes that like they're not even riding their product or something, and that can work too. Like your skills can just land you the endorsement, but showing them that you actually like their product is a good thing, which it's also just good for you to represent people that you actually like. You know, that's always going to feel better. Like I would advise people to try to get sponsored by companies they actually like.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I have two more questions. So one is like, what can you advise for people to find their own style, or that maybe, you know, you said you design your board for what you your preferences writing, and you don't really are thinking about like smaller trucks and all that trend. So what would you say to those people that are maybe a little bit anxious that they don't skate how the trend is going or something like that?
I think it's nowadays with the algorithms and social media, it's getting harder to actually like know what you like, because these algorithms are trying to like feed you what they think you're going to like. So if you're trying to find your style, or, you know, you're trying to figure out what you really like, and just think about the stuff that you like, when you go on YouTube, like what would you actually type in the search bar? Like what skater's name would you actually type in? What company? Instead of like of just like the stuff you've seen. You know, if you go on Instagram right now, you'll probably see tons of like tiny truck slalom set up downhill stuff, which is like really cool. But you know, if that's not your vibe, if that's not what you would go look up on YouTube, then that's probably not what you really like. Even though it looks cool, you know, you might think it looks really cool. Might not be actually what you gravitate towards. So just like try to hone in on what it is that actually makes you the most excited. Like what kind of content, what kind of boards, what kind of skater, or just like anything in life, you know, like any part of your life, like what actually makes you the most excited. And like try to follow that, like try to dive into that deeper, you know, find more people that are also like that, you know. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with like trying to mimic someone else in some way either, you know, because you're never going to actually be able to mimic them 100%. You know, if you're trying to be like them or, you know, copy their style, you know, you could go too far with that. But, you know, like be inspired. Let yourself be inspired by other people and try the things that you see them doing, because it'll lead you to other things. You know, you actually might take that trick that you think was really cool and you might learn it, and then you might, you know, progress on it. You might evolve it, you turn it into something else. You never know. And yeah, just what is it that really makes you excited? Is it the tiny trucks? Is it skate parks? You know, is it going super fast down hills? Is it going really, really slow? Like, who knows? Like, whatever it is, just try to like give it attention, you know, give that part of yourself attention. Like, you're excited about it for a reason, you know, and don't just diminish that, you know, don't just go for the trends.
Perfect. And the last question would be, if you can choose or pick like three core maybe values, if you want to name it like that, that will be like your compass in the way of life or in the way of skateboarding, what would they be?
My three core values.
Yeah, like I don't know, it could be like, yeah, be like a good human being, or
Hmm.
skate and destroy and drink a little beer. I
Yeah.
don't know. You know, like what would be like those three like yeah, points in your compass?
I would say probably the biggest one is simplicity in just like all aspects of life. I think it's like really easy to overthink things or like overcomplicate stuff, even like skate tricks or anything with skating. And trying to remind myself to keep it simple has like always been really helpful, you know, when it comes to like trick selection or shooting stuff for videos or whatever. Like, don't overthink it, you know. You can take the simplest thing and make it beautiful. And sometimes that's more powerful than like the most complicated, crazy trick, you know. The second one would be something along the lines of like, don't be afraid to do stuff on your own, you know, like, again, in all aspects of your life, like not even just skating. Community and being with people is like one of the best things, but there's also something like really special to like traveling on your own or going out and skating alone, you know, going out some really big hill alone, you know, getting a hitchhike alone. There's something very different about it. When we're like with people, there's a lot of energy bouncing off of everyone, and it's really easy to like kind of get addicted to that. Like you just like never really do anything alone, but there's something really good about just once in a while, like do some stuff alone by yourself, just to like see how you feel and see the world from just your own perspective. A lot of the times when we're hanging out with people, like there's a lot of like influences or different energies bouncing around, and found a lot of positive things in my life. Found a lot of positive insights when I like doing things alone. For the third one, try new things. Definitely try new things, especially in skating. You know, I like, you know, I preach like having one board or whatever, but I still always am like down to try different trucks, different wheels, different boards, different setups. It's really cool to try your friends' boards and see how they feel.
you kind of like don't know what you like in skating until you know what you don't like. So I think that's more important, you know, and riding someone else's board, you might realize, wow, their trucks feel way better, or wow, this board is way cooler, you know. Or you might be like, man, this sucks. Like, your board is the worst, dude. Like, I'm going to make sure I never do this. And you didn't know that until you do it. And you have to try new things, try new tricks, um, try new friends, try people that skate different stuff. Like, try to invite the downhill skater to the skate park, or, you know, be the downhill skateboarder that goes to the skate park. Just try different stuff. Yeah, so keep it simple, do things alone, and try new things.
That's perfect. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the person you are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really cool. This is the first time I've done something like this, so this is really exciting. It was nice to talk with you.